Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive on making sure your career doesn't just survive, but really thrives in the future.
I'm really glad we're talking about this because it's something that's been on my mind a lot lately.
Yeah, me too. Feels like things are changing so fast these days.
Exactly, and it can be hard to know how to keep up, so I'm excited to dig into this.
Well, I'm John,
And I'm Jenny.
and we're going to explore some really practical strategies to help you stay ahead of the curve in this ever-changing work world.
For this deep dive, we're focusing on this fantastic article called Career Adaptability: 5 Ways to Future-Proof Your Work.
It's by Azhar, and we'll make sure to link to it in the show notes so you can check it out.
The article is packed with actionable advice, but one thing that really stood out to me was Azhar's emphasis on mindset.
Mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah, he talks about shifting from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset.
Can you break that down for us a bit? What's the difference and why does it matter so much?
So a fixed mindset is kind of like thinking your abilities are set in stone. Like you're either good at something or you're not.
I see. So it's like putting limits on yourself.
Exactly. And Ashart argues that a growth mindset is all about seeing challenges as opportunities to learn and stretch yourself.
So instead of saying, I can't do this, you'd say something like, I can't do this yet.
Yeah, that simple word yet makes all the difference.
It's like giving yourself permission to learn and grow.
Exactly. And I think this applies to everyone, no matter what field you're in.
I totally agree. I think back to when I was first learning to code.
Oh, yeah.
It was so frustrating at times. I wanted to give up so many times, but I kept reminding myself that I could learn it with practice and persistence.
Now look at you now.
I'm still learning every day, but
Yeah.
that's the beauty of a growth mindset. It keeps you moving forward.
Ashar gives some great tips on how to actually cultivate a growth mindset, like paying attention to your self-talk.
Self-talk, yeah, it's so easy to get caught in negative thought patterns.
Right. So if you find yourself saying things like, I'm not good at this, or I'll never be able to do that, try to catch those thoughts and reframe them.
So instead of focusing on your limitations, focus on the possibilities.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask for help or feedback.
Surround yourself with people who encourage and support your growth.
Now, Jenny, let's move on to Azhar's second point, which is all about continuous learning.
Continuous learning, it's no longer optional, it's essential.
That's right. The skills that got you your current job might not be the ones that keep you there in 5 years or even 2 years.
It's true, the pace of change is accelerating in almost every industry.
I remember a time when I was working in marketing and the whole industry was shifting from print to digital.
Oh, wow, that must have been a huge adjustment.
I felt like I was constantly playing catch up, learning about things like social media, SEO, and online analytics.
So what did you do?
Well, I knew I couldn't just ignore it, so I started taking online courses, attending industry conferences, and reading everything I could get my hands on.
That's great. You really embraced that growth mindset we were talking about.
And honestly, I'm still learning new things all the time.
It's a lifelong journey, right?
Absolutely. And Azhar offers some really practical tips for making continuous learning a part of your life, like taking online courses, attending industry events, and even just subscribing to relevant newsletters or podcasts.
Yeah, I love that even just staying informed about the latest trends in your industry can make a big difference.
It's all about finding what works for you and making it a priority.
Speaking of taking initiative, Azhar's next point is all about being proactive in managing your career.
Proactive, not reactive.
What do you think are some key characteristics of proactive professionals?
Well, they're constantly looking for ways to improve their skills and knowledge.
They're not afraid to ask for feedback, even if it might be a little uncomfortable.
They're always looking for opportunities to grow and expand their horizons.
And they're not afraid to take risks or step outside their comfort zones.
I think one of the most important things about being proactive is taking ownership of your career path.
Don't wait for someone else to tell you what to do or where to go.
Figure out what you want and then go after it.
I love how Azhar puts it in the article. He says, be the person who suggests improvements, not the one who waits to have change forced upon them.
That's such a great way to think about it.
Now, you mentioned asking for feedback, and I think that's something a lot of people struggle with.
It can be tough to put yourself out there like that.
What advice would you give to someone who's hesitant to seek feedback?
Well, I'd say start by identifying people you trust and respect.
Mentors, colleagues, maybe even friends or family members who can offer an objective perspective.
Right, and when you do ask for feedback, be specific about what you're looking for.
So instead of just asking, what do you think, you might say something like, what could I have done differently in that presentation?
Exactly. The more specific you are, the more helpful the feedback will be.
And remember, feedback is a gift, even if it's not always easy to hear.
It's an opportunity to learn and grow.
Speaking of connections, Azhar's next point is all about the importance of building a strong professional network.
Your network is your lifeline.
It can help you find new opportunities, get advice, and stay connected to what's happening in your industry.
But I think a lot of people have this idea that networking is all about schmoozing and trying to get something from people.
Yeah, it can feel kind of icky if you approach it that way.
The key is to focus on building genuine relationships.
Be curious about other people, offer your help and support, and be a good listener.
You know, I used to be terrible at networking.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I would go to these events and feel so awkward and out of place.
So what changed?
I realized that I was approaching it all wrong.
Yeah,
I was so focused on what I could get out of it that I wasn't being myself.
that makes sense.
Once I started focusing on building authentic connections, things got a lot easier.
And more enjoyable, I bet.
Definitely. And Azhar gives some great advice on how to actually build those connections.
Like connecting with mentors, joining professional groups, and attending industry events.
All great ideas. And don't underestimate the power of online networking too.
LinkedIn can be a fantastic resource for connecting with people in your field.
Okay, we've talked about mindset, continuous learning, being proactive, and networking.
Azhar's final point is all about developing resilience.
Resilience is essential for navigating the ups and downs of any career,
There will be setbacks, challenges, and maybe even failures along the way.
but it's how you respond to those challenges that really matters.
So how do we cultivate resilience?
Well, one thing Azhar suggests is embracing failure as part of the learning process.
Instead of seeing failure as the end of the road, see it as a detour that can ultimately lead you to your destination.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how we learn and grow.
And when you do face a challenge, try to focus on solutions rather than dwelling on the problem.
What can you control in this situation? What steps can you take to move forward?
Those are great questions to ask yourself. And finally, don't forget about self-care.
Taking care of your mental and physical health is crucial for building resilience.
When you're feeling stressed and burnt out, it's much harder to bounce back from setbacks.
Make sure you're getting enough sleep, eating healthy foods, and taking breaks when you need them.
And Azhar has this great pro tip about resilience.
Oh yeah, what's that?
He says that the most successful professionals aren't the ones who never face challenges.
It's the ones who recover quickly and keep moving forward.
Exactly. It's not about avoiding setbacks altogether. It's about how we respond to them.
I think that's a great point to end on for part one of our deep dive into career adaptability.
We've covered a lot of ground, but we've only just scratched the surface.
In part two, we'll explore some real-world examples of how these strategies can be applied in different industries and career paths.
And we'll also talk about the importance of personal branding and how do you effectively showcase your skills and experience in a competitive job market.
But before we move on, I want to quickly recap the 5 key strategies for career adaptability that we've discussed so far.
Shift from a fixed to a growth mindset.
Embrace continuous learning.
Be proactive, not reactive.
Build a strong professional network.
And develop resilience.
These are powerful tools for navigating the future of work, no matter what field you're in.
We'll be right back with part 2 of our deep dive into career adaptability. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're picking up right where we left off, talking about career adaptability and how to really make it work for you.
And we thought it would be helpful to look at some real-world examples, see how these strategies actually play out in different fields.
Exactly, because it's one thing to talk about concepts in theory, but it's another to see them in action.
So let's start with an industry that's known for its rapid pace of change tech.
Tech, oh yeah, things move so fast in that world.
It's almost like a case study in why continuous learning is so essential.
Right, new programming languages, software tools, even entire ways of working are constantly evolving.
So if you're working in tech, you can't just rest on your laurels. You have to be constantly learning and upskilling just to keep up.
What would that look like in practice?
Well, think about what Azhar, https://www.azhar.com article, was saying about proactive learning.
Right, taking ownership of your own development.
Exactly. So for someone in tech, this could mean taking online courses on the latest programming languages, attending tech conferences where new innovations are showcased, or even just being active in online communities where developers share knowledge.
It's about staying immersed in that world of constant learning and evolution.
And honestly, it's not just about tech skills anymore.
No, it's so much bigger than that.
Think about all the buzz around artificial intelligence and how it's changing the way we work.
AI is everywhere these days.
Even if your job isn't directly replaced by AI, you're likely going to have to learn how to work alongside these new technologies.
So adaptability in tech goes beyond just learning new code. It's about being open to new ways of working, collaborating with machines, and constantly questioning assumptions about how things have always been done.
Now let's shift gears and look at a more creative field like graphic design.
Graphic design, that's a good one because I think there's this misconception that creativity is somehow separate from adaptability.
Oh, I see what you mean. Some people might think that creative work is all about inspiration and talent and less about being adaptable.
Exactly. But in reality, the most successful designers are those who can constantly evolve their style, embrace new technologies, and adapt their work to different platforms and audiences.
Think about how much the world of design has changed in the last decade.
It's unbelievable the pace of change.
We've gone from designing for print
Yeah.
to designing for websites, social media, even virtual reality.
And new design software and trends are constantly emerging.
So a graphic designer who's stuck in their ways and resistant to change is going to have a tough time staying competitive.
That's for sure. They need to be open to learning new things and experimenting with new approaches.
What advice would you give to a designer who's feeling overwhelmed by all the changes in the industry?
I'd say embrace that feeling of overwhelm. It's a sign that you're paying attention and that you're open to learning and growing. And remember what Azhar, https://www.azhar.com article said about staying curious.
Seek out inspiration from other designers, experiment with new tools and techniques, and don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone.
Exactly. And just like in tech, networking is crucial in the design world.
Yeah, attending design conferences, being active in online design communities, and even just following the work of other designers can help you stay inspired and informed about the latest trends.
Speaking of trends and keeping up with things that evolve quickly.
Healthcare definitely comes to mind.
Oh, absolutely. Healthcare is a field where continuous learning is absolutely essential.
The pace of medical advancements is incredible. New treatments, technologies, even ethical considerations are constantly emerging.
It's mind-boggling how fast things are changing.
So for someone working in healthcare, like a nurse or a doctor, it's not enough to just rely on the skills and knowledge you acquired in school.
Right. They need to be actively engaged in continuing education and professional development throughout their careers.
And just like in tech and design, there are so many resources available for healthcare professionals to stay up to date.
Medical journals, conferences, online courses, even podcasts like this one. There's something for everyone.
And what about that networking piece? I imagine that looks a bit different in healthcare.
It does, but it's still crucial attending medical conferences, joining professional organizations, and even participating in online forums or discussion groups with other healthcare professionals. These are all ways to stay connected and share knowledge.
It's like having a built-in support system of colleagues who understand the unique challenges and rewards of working in healthcare.
Now, we've talked about tech, design, healthcare fields that people might think of as being very dynamic and constantly changing.
But what about a more traditional field like finance? How does career adaptability play out in that world?
Well, even the most traditional industries are being disrupted these days.
It's true, things are changing everywhere.
Think about the rise of fintech, the increasing automation of financial processes, and the growing complexity of global markets.
Someone working in finance can't just sit back and rely on the skills they learned 20 years ago.
No, they need to be thinking about upskilling and adapting to these new realities.
So even a seasoned financial analyst needs to be open to learning new things.
Absolutely. It might mean learning how to use new data analytics tools, understanding the implications of blockchain technology for financial transactions, or even just being more comfortable with collaborating remotely with colleagues across different time zones.
It sounds like adaptability in finance is about being open to embracing new technologies, learning new ways of analyzing data, and getting comfortable with a more global and interconnected work environment.
Exactly. And just like in any other field, building a strong network is crucial in finance. Connecting with mentors, attending industry events, and staying active in professional organizations can open doors to new opportunities and provide valuable insights into the evolving world of finance.
Now, we've talked a lot about different industries and how career adaptability plays out in each of them.
But there's another piece to this puzzle that Azhar, https://www.azhar.com article, doesn't address directly, but I think is really important: personal branding.
Personal branding, yeah, that's a big one.
It's becoming increasingly important in today's competitive job market.
It's all about crafting a compelling narrative around your skills, experiences, and values.
And using that to differentiate yourself from the competition.
But how do you do that without feeling like you're bragging or being inauthentic?
It's a delicate balance for sure, but I think it starts with identifying your core values and what makes you unique.
So what are you passionate about? What are your key skills and accomplishments? What do you want to be known for?
Those are great questions to ask yourself. Once you have a clear understanding of your brand, you can start crafting a compelling narrative around it.
So this could involve highlighting your achievements in a way that resonates with potential employers or clients, sharing your insights and expertise on relevant platforms, or building a strong online presence that showcases your skills and personality.
It's not just about what you say, but how you say it and where you choose to share your message.
And remember, authenticity is key.
Your personal brand should be a genuine reflection of who you are and what you stand for.
Don't try to be someone you're not. People can spot a fake a mile away.
And just like with any other aspect of career adaptability, building a strong personal brand requires ongoing effort and attention.
It's not a one-time task, but a continuous process of refining your message, staying up to date with industry trends, and building meaningful connections.
It's about being intentional and proactive in shaping how you're perceived by others. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've talked a lot about mindset and strategies, but I'm curious, what are some practical resources for continuous learning?
Yeah, with so much information out there, it can be overwhelming to know where to even begin.
Right, like where do you actually go to find those opportunities for growth and development?
So what platforms or resources would you recommend?
Well, one platform that I always suggest is Coursera. They partner with top universities and companies to offer a wide range of courses and even full degrees.
Coursera, yeah, I've heard of them. I think a friend of mine took a data science course through them.
Exactly. You can find courses on everything from data science and AI to business and leadership skills.
And they're all online, right?
Yes, and often with the flexibility to learn at your own pace, which is perfect for busy professionals.
So you don't have to quit your job or rearrange your entire life just to take a course.
Right. It's all about fitting learning into your existing schedule.
Now, what about if you're looking for something a little more specific? Maybe a particular skill or software program.
Well, in that case, Udemy might be a good option.
Udemy, okay. I've seen their ads online.
They have a really wide selection of courses, often including more niche or practical skills.
So if I wanted to learn, say, video editing or a specific coding language, I could probably find a course on Udemy.
Most likely, and they often have sales and discounts, so you can get a really good deal on a course.
That's always a plus. Now, what if I'm more of a visual learner and I prefer shorter, bite-sized content?
Well, then you might love LinkedIn Learning.
LinkedIn Learning. Oh, yeah, I have a LinkedIn account.
They have a huge library of video tutorials on all sorts of professional skills.
So it's not just about networking on LinkedIn anymore.
Nope, they've really expanded their offerings in recent years.
And their videos are high quality.
Very much so. They're produced by industry experts, and they're easy to follow.
So it's like having your own personal development Netflix.
I like that analogy. You know, we've focused a lot on online learning, which makes sense in today's digital world.
But we shouldn't forget about the power of books.
Oh, absolutely. There are so many insightful books out there that can deepen our understanding of career adaptability.
We talked about Mindset by Carol Dweck and Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi earlier.
Both fantastic books. Any other recommendations you'd add to that list?
Well, one book that I found really thought-provoking is Range: Why Generalists Triumph in a Specialized World by David Epstein.
Oh, yes, that's a great one. It challenges the idea that we need to specialize in one narrow field to be successful.
Which is really relevant today with the way work is constantly evolving.
Exactly. And another book I highly recommend is The 10-Year Career: Reimagine Your Future Without Fear by Maggie Mistal.
I haven't read that one. What's it about?
It's all about designing a career that's aligned with your values and interests, even if that means making multiple transitions over time.
I love that it acknowledges that our careers aren't always linear.
And that it's okay to change paths, learn new things, and reinvent ourselves along the way.
That's all part of being adaptable.
Precisely. And I think that's a perfect note to wrap up this deep dive.
We've covered a lot of ground, from mindset to strategies to resources.
And we've explored how career adaptability is essential for navigating the ever-changing world of work.
So to our listeners out there, we hope you found this conversation insightful and empowering.
Remember, the future of work is full of possibilities. And with the right mindset and a commitment to lifelong learning, you can create a career that's both fulfilling and adaptable.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive into a topic that will help you thrive in our ever-changing world.